Later funk. The funk period of James Brown came about in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Rhythm became a king with minimalistic one-chord progressions. By simplifying chord changes, funk musicians were free to use syncopation more extensively, usually in the familiar two-bar pattern. 16 notes phrases were introduced and bass lines emerged as the hooks of the songs. As funk music was more about rhythm and syncopation, an emphasis on beat 1 was less necessary, and bassists could play more ahead, crossbar phrases where they combined 8 and 16 notes. Great examples of later funk hooky bass lines are Chameleon by legendary Paul Jackson, playing with Herbie Hancock in Headhunters, or Cold Sweat by James Brown, which is our reference example for the lesson time. Nerdy fact: New Orleans funk and early funk were based around 8 notes and 2-bar phrases. Meanwhile, later funk is felt in 1 measure and 16 notes patterns. Some songs in this period had no progression at all, just an endless bass groove using the tonic with vocal and instrumental vamps on top of it. So the lesson time for a later funk stage of James Brown, and basically for the later funk grooves. Our example is a bass line in Cold Sweat. It's a great and fun bass line to play, so I show you what's going on there. We are starting on the 5th fret on A string, which is a D, and we are playing. So what's going on there? You're playing the basic note of the chord, then I'm playing the octave, 5th, coming back to the root note, and then I'm landing on F sharp, which is the major 3rd in the chord, and playing this chromatic lick. So I'm playing the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th fret, and landing on the 3rd fret on A. So the notes are F sharp, G, G sharp, A, and C. Because it's a dominant chord, like many chords in funk music, it has to be 7th chord. So we are landing on a C, which is a minor 7th in the D7 chord. The next chord in Cold Sweat is just the C7. So what we are doing, we are just moving everything what we were playing in a D, now from the C. And there's one little change, or actually 2, compared to the D, so you can't just transpose it, because we are playing the minor 7th here, so. Then we are landing on a 2nd fret on an A string, which is a B, and it's a passing note going back, to the C. So I try to play it slowly. It's really hard actually to play without a track, because the riff is so syncopated that you need to hear the drums and the horns. That makes sense. On its own, it's quite tricky, but I try my best, okay? We are using the same trick on a D chord. So from C we are playing this open E, which is a major 3rd in C chord, and again with a chromatic passing tone, so like F, F sharp, G, landing on a B here. So I tried it again even slower. Alright, then we are reaching the last lick in the song, which are the syncopated chromatic notes, like. So I'm playing 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th fret on a D string, which are notes E, F, F sharp, G, and they are syncopated. So I'm playing every 2nd, so. There's a bar break, and then I repeat the pattern, but now from F, so from the 3rd fret, and then landing on a G note on a 3rd beat of the following bar. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, coming back to the groove, So a few things which are good to keep in your mind when playing these kind of grooves. Again, focus on articulation of the notes. Don't forget that suddenly, instead of just the 8th note and 8 notes beat and syncopation, you got also 16 notes and 16 note syncopation. So that adds more trickier stuff on your rhythm part. So if I play some sort of a variation of my own, of Cold Sweat, or let's call it like electro-funk grooves, I can just stick to one note and play with the rhythm. You can have fun just with one note. That's the whole point of playing funk. Actually, you play that one note and you make it work, you make it groove. So that's a really challenging and a cool exercise. Sticking to one note actually. Put the drum beat on, or find some loop on YouTube. I would suggest the tempos between 110 and 130. That's kind of optimum for the funking grooves, and just play with one note. Yeah, this is a very common riff in the 16th. When I'm doing it in my right hand, I love to do it. I'm just landing on the downbeats with my, see, I'm doing this little percussion. It has more. It makes me more solid in the rhythm section. So I'm just doing it unconsciously. Just basically, when I start to play, I put a lot of percussive notes around the groove because I want to feel the beat. The guitar players are doing this. They just use the right hand as an engine. So I'm using the same with my finger style. So. So that's your tip for working on your minimalistic one note but very cool electro-funk grooves. Have fun, see you next time.